Okay children, let us start with oogenesis now. First let me explain oogenesis full. Then we will differentiate how spermatogenesis and oogenesis differ with each other. So let me explain oogenesis first. Then how it is differing from spermatogenesis later on we will discuss. Coming to oogenesis, formation of female gamete called as the ovum is called as oogenesis. Oogenesis, unlike spermatogenesis, oogenesis starts at fetal stage only. In embryonic stage only, in females, oogenesis starts. But in males, spermatogenesis is starting at puberty. In females, oogenesis is starting at embryonic stage only. And in males, once started, spermatogenesis continues up to death. They can produce sperm until they die. But in females, the oogenesis stops at the age of 55, approximately 50 to 55 years. After that, we call it as menopause. After 50 to 55 years, they cannot give birth to children. So that age is called as menopause. Females can produce ova up to 55 years or 50 years due to other stress and due to other health problems. Some may up to 45 years also some oogenesis is stopping. But generally according to our book it is 50 to 55 years oogenesis stops. Like in spermatogenesis, in oogenesis also 3 stages are there. What are those 3 stages? Number 1, multiplication stage. Number 2 is the growth phase. Number 3, maturation phase. Now coming to multiplication phase. As you all know, multiplication phase is nothing but it is mitotic phase where mitotic cell division occurs. The oogonia of the fetal ovary. Point 1 we have to remember, multiplication phase is a mitotic phase. Point 2, multiplication phase starts and completes in fetal ovary only. That means the oogonia which are diploid, like spermatogonia, diploid oogonia are there. Divide and increase in number of oogonia they form. So this phase is called as multiplication phase. Multiplication phase, only the number of oogonia are increasing, that is the purpose of this phase. Now the second phase is called as a growth phase where the oogonia increase in size. Few oogonia will grow in size and they are called as primary oocyte, which is also a diploid cell. The second phase is a growth phase. Growth phase also completes in fetal ovary only. In growth phase, some of the oogonia will grow in size, forming primary oocytes. Now the third phase is maturation phase. Maturation phase also starts in fetal ovary but halts at prophase 1, diplotin stage of prophase 1. That is, it is starting at fetal ovary. In the fetal ovary only maturation phase is starting, but it is not getting completed. It is halting somewhere. Where is it halting? It is halting at prophase 1. Prophase 1, as sir told you in cell division, many stages are there, like diplotin, zygote, pachytene, different stages are there. So in diplotin stage of prophase 1, it stops, it halts. And such a primary oocytes, every ovary is having many primary oocytes. Where is this taking place? In the ovary. So now the primary oocytes which are diploid only with halted meiosis 1, with halted prophase 1 are present in the fetal ovary. Now such primary oocytes are surrounded by a layer of flat cells and we call them as primordial follicles. Now these flat cells will become a layer of cuboidal cells and we call them as primary follicle. Can you understand, children? Now this is a follicle, primary follicle. Inside the primary follicle what is present? Primary oocyte is present. The primary oocyte is haploid or diploid? In the primary oocyte, it is with halted prophase 1. Such primary oocytes, many are present in the fetal ovary at the time of birth. So at the time of birth, the baby is having such primary oocytes, number of such primary oocytes. Once again I repeat, oogenesis, formation of female gamete, ova. Oogenesis starts in embryonic stage, that is in the fetal ovary only. Oogenesis stops at the age of 55. After that we call it as menopause. In oogenesis also three phases are there: multiplication phase, growth phase, maturation phase. Multiplication phase is a mitotic phase where the where the oogonia will increase in number, divide by mitosis and increase in number. That is the purpose of multiplication phase, which completes in the fetal ovary only. Then the second phase is a growth phase. Some of the oogonia will grow in size and form primary oocytes, which are also diploid. Growth phase also completes in fetal ovary only. The third phase is a maturation phase, which starts in fetal ovary. I am not saying maturation phase completes in fetal ovary. I am saying that maturation phase starts in fetal ovary. That means meiosis 1 starts in fetal ovary but does not complete. It halts at prophase 1, diploidine stage of prophase 1. Now such primary oocytes are covered with a layer of cells, cuboidal cells, and we call them as primary follicles. Now the primary follicle within it is having a primary oocyte. When the fetus is born, at the time of birth, the ovaries are having many such primary follicles. Millions of primary follicles are present in each ovary. Up to puberty, no more division is taking place. Up to puberty, many follicles will get atrophied, they degenerate. The term we are using for degeneration is atrophied. And at the puberty time, only 60 to 80,000 primary oocytes will be present, or primary follicles will be present in the ovary. What happened to the remaining? Millions of primary follicles are present at the time of birth, but at the time of puberty, only 60 to 80,000 are remaining, meaning the others get atrophied. That is called as follicular atresia. That is, from birth to puberty, oogenesis is not taking place. From birth to puberty, oogenesis halts. From birth to puberty, only follicular atresia occurred. Follicular atresia means what? Number of primary follicles will get atrophied, they degenerate. Only at puberty, 60 to 80,000 primary follicles will remain. Now, as you all know, at puberty time, the hypothalamus releases what? GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, which stimulates the anterior pituitary to release gonadotrophins. What are the two gonadotrophins? FSH and LH. As we have discussed in hormones lesson, the receptors for FSH are present on primary follicles, ovarian follicles. So FSH act on ovarian follicle. FSH is acting on ovarian follicle and helping in the maturation or the development of the ovarian follicle. So now the ovarian follicle, that is the primary follicle, starts growing in size. So what happens in the first step? Inside, the primary oocyte is there, and this single layered cell will multiply to become number of layers, and we call it as membrana granulosa cells. Now such a follicle, as it is growing, the stroma surrounding it will condense to form theca layers. Now such a follicle is called secondary follicle. Secondary follicle. So primary follicle has only a single layer of membrana granulosa cells. But as the number of layers multiply, then we call such a follicle as secondary follicle. In secondary follicle only theca layers will form. So secondary follicle and theca layer, the stroma condense to form theca layers. So now what happens next? Next what happens? In this, an antrum develops. A fluid-filled cavity called as a antrum develops. And because of the development of the antrum, the follicle size has grown more. And theca layers differentiate into theca interna and theca externa. And the primary oocyte is pushed eccentrically. Earlier it was in center. Now because of the development of the antrum, it is pushed towards one side, eccentrically, away from the center. This is the primary oocyte. Now the cells in near the primary oocyte, the follicular cells, these are called as cumulus oophoricus. And the cells which are joining it to the wall are called as discus proligirus. And the cells in the wall are referred as membrana granulosa cells. Now, secondary follicle means you understood. The single layer is becoming multi-layered, means such a follicle is called as a secondary follicle. Obviously, the size will increase, and when the size will increase, the stroma forms theca layers. That is the secondary follicle. What is tertiary follicle? In tertiary follicle, a fluid-filled cavity called as an antrum is forming. Because of the formation of the antrum, the primary oocyte is pushed eccentrically, and the wall of the follicle is becoming thin, and we call it as membrana granulosa, and the follicular cells which are joining the primary oocyte to the antrum are referred as cumulus oophoricus, and the follicular cells which are joining the primary oocyte to the wall are called as discus proligirus. And outside the theca layers, here the theca layers are formed in secondary follicle, but in tertiary follicle, theca layers will differentiate into theca interna, theca externa. Theca interna secretes estrogen, which is a female hormone. So that is about the tertiary follicle. Now at this stage, the primary oocyte completes its meiosis 1. Now this primary oocyte is in halted prophase 1 at the time of birth. Now at this stage, that is at the puberty stage, it completes its meiosis 1 and form two unequal. In spermatogenesis, both the cells are equal, but here two haploid unequal cells are formed. The bigger size cell is called as a secondary oocyte, which is haploid, and the smaller size cell is called as a polar body. Now, in tertiary oocyte, the meiosis 1, in tertiary follicle, meiosis 1 is completed and primary oocyte is completing its meiosis 1 and forming the secondary oocyte. So now what happens once the secondary oocyte is formed, it surrounds itself with a non-cellular layer called as a zona pellucida. And the follicular cells which are attached to zona pellucida are referred as corona, not the present corona radiata. And the follicular cells which are attaching it to the antrum, you know very well, they are referred as what? Cumulus euphoricus. Already I wrote here, cumulus euphoricus. And some of the follicular cells are attaching it to the wall, and these are referred as discus proligerus. And the follicular cells present in the wall these follicular cells which are present in the wall are referred as what? Membrana granulosa. So such a follicle is called as a matured follicle or a Graafian follicle after the name of the scientist Graafian. So now at puberty, because of puberty, gonadotrophin releasing hormone is released by hypothalamus, that is acting on adenohypophysis and releasing FSH. And under the influence of the FSH, the primary follicle has developed to mature Graafian follicle. What are the changes? First, primary follicle, single layer of cells. Within the primary follicle, what is there? Primary oocyte is there. So now, primary oocyte will remain like that, but the single layered cells in the wall, follicular cells will become multi-layered. And the size will increase and thicker layers will be formed. Such a follicle is called as a secondary follicle. Now, in secondary follicle also, primary oocyte only is present, children. Now, this is the tertiary follicle. In tertiary follicle, a fluid-filled cavity called as an antrum is formed. Because of the development of the antrum, the primary oocyte is pushed eccentrically. And the theca layers will differentiate into theca interna and theca externa. It is at the stage of tertiary follicle. It is at this stage the primary oocyte completes its meiosis 1 and results in a secondary oocyte and a small polar body. Now, once the secondary oocyte is formed, the secondary oocyte surrounds itself by a non-cellular layer called as the zona pellucida. The follicular cells which are adhering to zona pellucida are referred as corona radiata. And the follicular cells which are attaching the oocyte to the antrum are called as cumulus euphoricus. And the follicular cells which are attaching the oocyte to the wall are called as discus proligerus. And the follicular cells which are present in the wall are referred as membrana granulosa. we call them as membrana granulosa. When they are attaching here, attaching the oocyte to the wall, these cells are called as discus proligerus. When they are attaching the oocyte to the antrum, these follicular cells are called as cumulus oophoricus. The layer of follicular cells which are attaching to zona pellucida is called as corona radiata. What is zona pellucida? It is a non-cellular layer. Zona pellucida is secreted by secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte is surrounding by zona pellucida. Now such a follicle is called as a mature ovarian follicle or a Graafian follicle. Now what happens? The second hormone LH, luteinizing hormone. Now the work of FSH is over. FSH, what it has done? It has helped in the development of the follicle. Now once the follicle develops into a mature Graafian follicle, meiosis 2 starts here. The secondary oocyte starts meiosis 2. But the meiosis 2 is not completed. It is halted at metaphase 2. See children, I am only saying meiosis 2 started here. I am not saying meiosis 2 completed here. Meiosis 2 starts here but halts at metaphase 2. Now on such a follicle, our second hormone LH, luteinizing hormone, acts. LH acts. Once the LH acts, the follicle will rupture. The follicle will rupture and release the ova to outside. The ova is in which stage? Secondary oocyte stage with halted metaphase 2. The ova, the secondary oocyte with halted metaphase 2 along with zona pellucida and corona radiata is released, discharged out. This is called as ovulation. Now the examiner's favorite bit is ovulation. At the time of ovulation, the ova is in which stage? Is it in primary oocyte stage or secondary oocyte stage? It is in primary oocyte stage. Is it alone discharged or is it discharged along with zona pellucida and corona radiata? It is discharged along with the zona pellucida, corona radiata and one polar body also. Now this is collected by the fallopian tube, infundibulum of the fallopian tube, and it reaches the ampulla of the fallopian tube. So in the ampulla of the fallopian tube, this is the secondary oocyte with halted metaphase 2, one polar body only, and this is zona pellucida, corona radiata. It remains here for 24 hours. Within these 24 hours, if the sperm will not reach means, this will be degenerated. That means meiosis 2 will never complete. That means oogenesis will never complete in such females. So oogenesis is incomplete in unmarried females. That means in those females in whom the ova did not met with the sperm, such females, the oogenesis will never complete. It stops here. Meiosis 2 will not complete. If at all the sperm enters, then what happens? The entry of the sperm breaks the metaphase promoting factor and stimulates the anaphase promoting factor. So this completes secondary oocyte completes meiosis 2, resulting in a ooted, a haploid ooted and one polar body. So now oogenesis is completed. So completion of oogenesis occurs only when it meets with the sperm. So entry of the sperm only completing meiosis 2, resulting in ooting and second polar body. Okay children, so these are all the points about oogenesis. You can see here a single primary oocyte resulted in single oocyte, whereas a single second primary spermatocyte resulted in 4 sperms. 4 spermatids which resulted in 4 sperms like this. But here a single primary oocyte is single. It is resulting in secondary oocyte and one polar body, which is resulting in one polar body and oocyte. Meaning a single primary oocyte resulting in only one ovum, one oocyte. 50 ovums are formed means how many primary oocytes? 50 only. How many secondary oocytes? 50 only. 200 ovums are formed. How many primary oocytes? Secondary oocytes? 200 only. How many primary oocytes? 200 only. But here not like that. 200 sperms are formed means 100 secondary spermatocytes and 50 primary spermatocytes would have been there. 100 secondary spermatocytes and 50 primary spermatocytes. So 50 primary spermatocytes doubles to become secondary, 100 secondary spermatocytes which doubles to become 200 sperms. But here not like that. One primary spermatocyte result in one secondary oocyte which result in one ovum. So that is about oogenesis. Now here the polar bodies are formed, which are small cells. What is the importance of polar body? 2 points we should know. Polar body helps in shedding the extra chromosomes and maintaining haploidy. Second is to retain all the cytoplasm in the ovum. So polar body is taking very less cytoplasm and it is allowing all the cytoplasm to remain in the ovum. This is the importance of polar body. Now, what are the differences you have seen between spermatogenesis and oogenesis? The first difference is spermatogenesis starts at puberty, oogenesis starts at fetal ovary only. The second difference what we have noticed is spermatogenesis continues throughout the life, oogenesis halts at 55 years. After menopause there is no oogenesis. The third difference is once spermatogenesis starts, it continues until the sperms are formed. But oogenesis is halting 2 times. It is a discontinuous process. Spermatogenesis is a continuous process. There is no halt there. But oogenesis is halting 2 times. One is at the fetal ovary at prophase 1. And second time at puberty in metaphase 2 it is halting. So it is a discontinuous process. 2 halts. 2 times it is stopping. One time at prophase 1. That is meiosis 1, prophase 1 it is stopping. Second time at puberty, meiosis 2 is starting but halting at metaphase 2. So as it is stopping 2 times, we say oogenesis is a discontinuous process, whereas spermatogenesis is a continuous process. What about the other difference? In spermatogenesis, we can see the cells which are formed of meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 are equal sized. Whereas in oogenesis, we can see meiosis 1 also resulting 2 unequal sized cells and meiosis 2 also resulting 2 unequal sized cells. So the meiotic divisions in oogenesis are unequal, whereas the meiotic divisions in spermatogenesis are resulting in equal sized daughter cells. Another difference is here in oogenesis polar bodies are formed, whereas in spermatogenesis you will not see polar bodies. Another difference is one primary oocyte is resulting in only one oocyte, whereas here one primary spermatocyte is resulting in 4 sperms. What is the other difference? Spermatogenesis is not depending on ova. If the male is meeting with the female or not meeting with the female also, spermatogenesis is not dependent on females there. It continues. Whereas oogenesis depends on sperm. Only if it meets the sperm, then only oogenesis is getting completed. If it does not meet the sperm, oogenesis halts at metaphase 2. So these are the differences between oogenesis and spermatogenesis, children. Gametogenesis, most important, and more bits will come from here. You study properly. Anywhere you are getting doubt, you can rewind and you can see the recording once again, or you can call to me and ask clear your doubt. All the best, children. God bless you.